So I would just like to announce that the event is live. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us so far. We're going to start a little slowly to enable some more people to join us. We see people are joining us at a fast rate, so we will be respectful and wait a short time for people to join us. But we'd like to thank you all for making time for this. I'm going to put up our accommodations slide. This will let you know that we have captions and subtitles available. And we also have a transcript of the event, which is available afterwards. This is for anybody who is hard of hearing or deaf. And I will leave this here for a short time for people to make themselves familiar with the information. Thank you. And while we're waiting for people to join, I will just mention that this webinar is being delivered by the Office of the Governor's Small Business Team. We are delighted and honored to deliver our 7th webinar to everybody. Our objective is to get relevant information out to the small business community. At this point in time, we've been focused on addressing questions and the need for information as a result of the impact of the coronavirus crisis. So I mentioned we are just waiting for people to join us. Quite a lot of people registered, and we can see lots of people joining now. So thank you for your patience. And so I think we will move along and begin our event. And I would like to hand over to our Executive Director of the Economic Development and Tourism Division of the Office of the Governor, to Adriana Cruz. Over to you, Adriana.
Great. Thank you so much, Kelly. And good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Adriana Cruz, the Executive Director of the Economic Development and Tourism Office in the Office of Governor Greg Abbott. On behalf of the entire team at the Economic Development and Tourism Division, I want to thank you for joining us and for taking time from your day to participate in the 7th Governor Small Business webinar. Our small business team began organizing these webinars in mid-April to help support our small business owners and entrepreneurs from across every region of Texas, and to provide you with timely, relevant information that you need to navigate these challenging times. We have a great program for you this morning. We've shifted our focus more on the future and on business resiliency. And we're going to hear from a panel of experts from the Tech Center, the Tech Sector, the Small Business Development Center, Workforce Solutions, and from the Texas Workforce Commission. In addition, we're very excited to have Governor Abbott join us this morning to provide some words of welcome and to answer some of our most frequently asked questions from small business owners in Texas. And now it's my great honor to introduce our leader, Governor Greg Abbott. Governor, we appreciate you taking time out of what is surely an extremely busy schedule. Governor Abbott, you there?
I sure am. Adriana, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your help with this. For those who are watching, I welcome you into the conservatory at the Governor's Mansion, where you get to see just a little slice of the Governor's Mansion as we all continue to work in very safe ways. First, I want to thank once again Adriana, but also most importantly, I want to thank everybody who is a part of this webinar today, especially because of the key role that you play in being the economic engine for the state of Texas. One thing that our state economy and really every economy across our country depends upon is our small businesses, our entrepreneurs, who are the lead job creators in our state. And as a result, what we need now more than ever is to ensure that you have the ability to make sure that you can go out and create those jobs. And that's exactly why we've been focused on two key things. One is making sure that we keep the state of Texas as safe as possible. We want to do all we can to control and contain the spread of the coronavirus, and candidly, you as well as others in the state of Texas have done a great job of doing that. And it's exactly because of that that we are able to open up businesses more in the state of Texas. You probably saw yesterday the way that we additional openings in the state, basically allowing all businesses to open up at least 50%. Restaurants are able to go up to 75% next week, and also businesses in rural communities will be able to expand to 75%. But the only reason why we were able to do this is because we do have the coronavirus contained for right now. Understand two important facts, and then I'm going to open it up for some questions. One is that as we do open up, we know that there will be some spikes in people testing positive on occasion. The reason for that is because as people engage with each other more, there is the possibility for transmission. The key takeaway is this, and that is we have what are called surge response teams. These surge response teams are capable of going in and identifying where outbreaks may occur. They surge resources such as testing supplies and PPE and things like that to make sure they contain the spread of COVID-19 in that particular area. And within a week or two, they're able to return things to normal. The second thing, kind of along those same lines, that we need to understand the time period that we are in. And that is we're in a time period where we have slowed the spread of COVID-19. However, COVID-19 still exists in Texas, and it will continue to exist until we have immunizations that are available. And before that, until the time that medications become available to treat people who do test positive for COVID-19. So the key point I want to make in that regard, and that is, as we do continue to open up, it is essential for all of you and for you to be a voice for the necessity of everyone continuing to practice these safe practices that we have learned and adopted over the past few months. And that is distancing practices. The more you distance yourself from others and the more you are reducing the transmission of COVID-19. Continue to sanitize your hands, continue to do everything you can to make sure that you reduce the possibility of transmitting COVID-19. The more you are able to do that, the more we are able to open up the economy even more, and the more that we are able to return people back to work and allow them to earn a paycheck so they can pay their bills, put food on the table, and get back to a sense of normalcy. With that, Adriana, I'm happy to take a few questions from some of the people on this line.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Governor. And thank you for your strong and steady leadership during this unprecedented time. Governor, these past webinars that we've had about 10,000 business owners that have participated in them. And a couple of questions that we consistently receive from Texas businesses. One, small businesses are so critically important to the Texas economy. How is the state of Texas helping small businesses right now?
Well, there's several different things we're doing. One, candidly, Adriana, what you're doing. You are tremendous help to our small businesses by maintaining contact with them, and we want small businesses to continue to maintain contact with us. That said, there are some specific things that we've done. One that many of you probably have observed along the pathway as we've worked our way through the coronavirus is that we've issued countless waivers to help make sure that you are able to conduct your businesses far more effectively. I've lost track of all the waivers that we have issued, but it's well over 100. And that's one of the unique situations that we have the capability of doing when a disaster is declared, is we can waive certain regulations or certain hindrances that would otherwise slow down your ability to get things back up and running. Also, we are allowing restaurants to do things like sell bulk products to consumers. The need for that is now not going to be as prolific now that restaurants are going to be able to open up at 75%. You all may remember what we announced early on, and that is allowing the delivery of alcoholic beverages with food by restaurants. This one proved so popular that this is one of those waivers of a rule or regulation that probably will continue even long after the coronavirus is gone. Along those lines, also, just to give you an example of how we use these waivers to expedite things, you can maybe in your mind go back to early on during the pandemic in March, when it seemed like there were inadequate supplies in our stores, when people were doing things like stocking up on toilet paper and things like that. Well, we allowed trucks that typically deliver alcohol to also deliver grocery supplies, so that our grocery stores were not running out of supplies. Fortunately, we are now past that, but that's just one of a multitude of trucking regulations that we were able to waive. And so one of the main things that we're doing is working on unique strategies that candidly we get input from small businesses that provide us ideas about rules and regulations that we can waive that would make it far easier for the small businesses to conduct business in the state of Texas. And that is why it's so important to maintain contact with us. You are the pipeline of information and of ideas and innovation that help us better work with you and understand this last concept along these lines. And that is, as a state, we view ourselves as being partners with you in your businesses. We want you to go out there and be able to succeed, and anything that we can do to help you succeed is what we need to know. So with that, Adriana, let me pass it back to you for any more questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yesterday, you announced phase 3 of the plan to open Texas. For the small business owners that are on the webinar today, what should they be thinking about as the economy is opening up?
I will tell you something that you may have observed yourself, and that is that if we opened up 100% today, your businesses, for most of you, would not have anything close to 100% of your customers coming back. We know from firsthand dealings with customers, we know from anecdotes, we know from polling data. The fact of the matter is, many of our fellow Texans and Americans feel afraid or uncertain about re-engaging in commerce. The point being, and that is that it's essential that as you open up, that you instill in your customers that sense of confidence and safety when they come to your store or business, that they know that they are interacting with a business that provides a safe setting, one that is likely not to cause any transmission of COVID-19. Let me give you just a quick personal example. Early on, when restaurants were first allowed to open up at 25% capacity, I went to 4 different restaurants in the Austin area. And each time I went out, I felt so incredibly comfortable because of the spacing that was utilized. This was still at a time when people were far more concerned about the spread of COVID-19. And knowing that I was able to dine out in ways in which it seemed like it was physically impossible for me to have a transmission with anybody else of COVID-19 made it feel far more comfortable. Also, the practices and protocols that I saw the restaurant employees utilizing also instilled confidence in me that they were doing all the right things to make sure that they were using appropriate sanitization to reduce the spread of COVID-19. So we probably have so many different types of businesses from so many different types of industries and sectors on here, but there are unique protocols, if you would, for pretty much every different type of industry and business. And so just follow those protocols, but use your own common sense about what you think your customers want to see to make them feel confident and safe in using you as a business. The more you are able to do that, I think the more that you will be able to continue to expand your customer base, your customer interaction, and hence the revenue that you're able to generate.
And Governor, you mentioned some of the waivers that passed very early on in the beginning of the COVID-19 crisis. One of the other things that you did was you established the Governor's Supply Chain Strike Force. Can you talk about the positive impact that this strike force has had?
So this is a great example of how the private sector can work collaboratively with the public sector to achieve a better result. Go back in your mind, it seems like it was years ago. It was really just a couple of months ago, in early March. There was a time when it seemed like everybody in this country learned 3 letters, PPE, which stands for Personal Protection Equipment. There were news stories every single day about the inadequate supplies of PPE, which includes things like those face masks that medical providers as well as store owners needed access to. And the fact of the matter is, because in the United States of America, we were actually not manufacturing very much PPE at all. Most of the supplies that we were receiving for PPE were coming from China, which of course was the centerpiece of where the coronavirus began, and they were using all of their own PPE and incapable of shipping it to the U.S. the way they had in the past, or the PPE was coming from some other countries which also were experiencing challenges in their own countries. The bottom line is that in the United States, we had inadequate supplies of PPE. So what we did is I called a friend of mine, Michael Dell, and I knew about their worldwide presence. And I asked Michael if he had any ideas about ways to help us bolster our supply chain for PPE. And he was kind enough to loan to our office and to our strike force team responding to the coronavirus, their global vice president in charge of international supply chain. So he came in and immediately set up a team of people who were working on the strike force already. And they set up a remarkable supply chain team that has led to a situation now where we distribute about 1 million masks per day across the entire state of Texas. And because of our supply chain, whether it be for PPE, whether it be for testing equipment, whether it be for gowns that people wear, whether it be for any type of supply that's going to be needed by the state or maybe in some instances even by the private sector to respond to the coronavirus, we now have robust supply chains. And very importantly, I want to add, we have also tapped into Texas-based manufacturers of PPE equipment so that we will have an ongoing supply right here in the state of Texas as we continue to deal with this pandemic. And along those lines, let me mention one last thing real quick, and that is, I mentioned moments ago that we are in this situation where we still have COVID-19 existing in Texas, and we don't have any medicines that really are capable of treating COVID-19. And as a result, we do anticipate, or let's say the doctors have articulated an anticipation that as we head into the fall, when flu season arises, corresponding with that flu season would be a potential increase in the coronavirus, which is a type of flu. And as a result, there could be a massive increase in the need for PPE this coming fall. And as a result, that supply chain team is working collaboratively to make sure not only are we responding to the PPE needs of today, but also they're working to ensure that we will have the PPE supplies to make sure that we will get through the coming fall and winter seasons.
Well, that's wonderful news, Governor. And I know that you're extremely busy, and we appreciate so much your leadership and you spending your very valuable time with us and our Texas business owners. And thank you for everything that you're doing on behalf of our state.
Thank you. Thank all of you for everything that you're doing. Once again, our small businesses, they are the heartbeat of the state of Texas. So we need you out there. We need you engaged. We need you to be safe. So continue to be safe, continue to open up Texas, and continue to get back to business. Thank you all. God bless you all, and God bless Texas.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor Abbott. Once again, we are partnering with the Texas Workforce Commission on the small business webinars, and we're happy to have with us Commissioner Aaron Demerson, the commissioner representing Texas employers. Commissioner Demerson, you want to say a few words?
Commissioner, you may be muted.
Those famous words of muting and unmuting. So Adriana, thank you for the invitation to bring quick remarks. And again, thank you for your continued leadership and partnership representing Governor Abbott's office as we continue to provide our Texas employers with the best information available to ensure their success. You're doing an awesome job, and we appreciate that. I'm proud to have been appointed by Governor Abbott to serve as the commissioner representing employers. And I want to thank Governor Abbott for his leadership and direction, both before and especially during this pandemic. Fact of the matter is, we are truly blessed here in Texas. So Governor Abbott, thank you very much for all that you're doing. I represent the over 565,000 employers and 2.6 million small businesses here in Texas. The governor said that businesses in Texas are the true engine that our power a great state. And I have 4 awesome employment lawyers here representing us: Tommy, Elsa, Melissa, and Mario. They're in our office and they're ready to assist with any employment-related questions that may come up that you might have. In Texas, the rubber meets the road at the local level. In partnerships, that's our secret sauce. We have 28 local workforce solution offices throughout our state, and you're going to hear from Dr. Ryan on this call. She's a powerhouse with the Workforce Solutions Rural Capital Team. You'll also hear from Joe Harper, who will be presenting information concerning our small business development centers. Those are partnerships that we truly appreciate and can't do it without those type of partnerships. But lastly, I want to thank all of those that are joining us on this call today. We don't take your leadership and your investment in our state for granted. We truly appreciate it, everything that you're doing there. Now, these are some anomalous times that we're facing right now. We've had over 3 million claims that have been out there, over $9 billion that have been paid out in benefits, an unprecedented number of calls here, and yet no one will be unserved here in Texas. No one will be unserved. To put it bluntly, it's been a challenge, but it's been, as Governor Abbott says, and I'm going to read something that Governor Abbott quite often says, an invisible enemy that has tested our lives and our livelihoods. But overcoming challenges is part of who we are as Texans. Times may be tough, but so are Texans. Let's continue to make progress, and together let's continue to make a difference. Adriana, we thank you for the partnership. We thank you for your leadership, and we look forward to answering any questions that those in the audience might have. But we appreciate everything that you guys are doing, and we look forward to progressing together.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Commissioner Demerson. And with that, I'm going to turn over the MC duties to Kelly Spillane, our small business advocate from the small business team. So Kelly, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Adriana, and thank you, Commissioner Demerson, and thank you, Governor Abbott. It's just an honor to have all of you here today. And I'm going to begin the main part of our event now, and I will move along. And I just wanted to put this slide up because I think it's a really positive reminder of how great it is to be in Texas and how great it is to be doing business in Texas. I hope all of you small business owners will agree. I know times are hard and we've had unprecedented challenges, but it's good to know that we're in Texas and the Texas economy is going to get back up and running. Having worked in different parts of the world, I think this is the best place to be in business and the best place to live, in fact. And I just thought you might want to be reminded of what others say about Texas. And so today, we have 3 panelists. They will be Alexis Gallivan. She is the Seller Marketing and Engagement Lead from eBay. We have Cara DiMartino Ryan. She's the Chief Strategy Officer from Workforce Solutions in the Rural Capital Area. And we also have Joe Harper, who is the Executive Director of the Small Business Development Center at Texas State. And we're delighted to have these 3 experts who will help us address questions. We'll give them an opportunity to speak to some really useful information for businesses. I just want to mention that Facebook was also going to join us, but at the last minute, they were unable to. So we're all disappointed, but we will feature them in a future webinar. And so we are going to talk to each of our panelists now. They have really relevant and useful information to share with businesses that will be particularly useful at this point in time, having had this crisis impact us all. Okay, and before I get into that, I just wanted to mention that we will have a live Q&A for the second half of the event. You will have the opportunity to type your questions, but we would urge you to look at the featured feed before you enter your questions, because there may be questions there just like yours. If you see questions that you like and want to hear answered, please like them. We are going to feature the questions that have the most likes. So thank you for that. The feed is not open just yet, and I will let you know shortly when we open that. And so I'm going to move along and talk to Alexis Gallivan now from eBay. And our first question that we're going to ask Alexis is about the fact that there are many online e-commerce platforms now. How does eBay stand out in the crowd? And if you like, what is unique and special about eBay from a small business point of view? So over to you, Alexis.
Thank you so much, Kelly, and thank you, everyone. I'm so grateful to Governor Abbott and your entire team for putting this really important event together today. I'm so honored and happy to be here, not only because it's such an important and timely topic, but also because this is very, very personal for me. In addition to my work at eBay, I'm also a small business owner and have been since 2007. So I am with you. I am in the trenches. I'm also having sleepless nights trying to figure out what comes next and how do we pivot and how do we stay alive and survive for ourselves and for our team members. So just wanted you to know that, kind of give you some backdrop to kind of who I am and how important this topic is to me. So I came to eBay about 3-4 years ago now, specifically because I'm a small business owner and because I'm so committed to supporting small businesses in my direct community and all over the world. And eBay really shares that and has since day one. You may not know that actually this year we're celebrating our 25th birthday, if you will, as a corporation. So it's a pretty exciting time for us. And since that opening day 25 years ago, our founder, who was an immigrant to this company, essentially saw in this crazy new thing called the internet an opportunity to connect people and to create an entirely new form of commerce that was open, that was inclusive, that was democratic. And that has we've maintained that as our North Star ever since then. So every single day we've got 14,000 employees across the world working towards meeting that really, really kind of laudable aim. So I think number one, that's kind of partly what makes us so special. We didn't have to kind of reverse engineer purpose into our business model. It's kind of been part of our DNA since we began. But part of that, and I think this is a really, really critical point that I can't say enough, is that we do not compete with the small businesses who sell on our platform. We win only when they win, period. That is a huge differentiator for some of our other kind of e-commerce competitors out there, and it's something that I hope that all of the small businesses out there today will kind of keep in mind. That is kind of our guiding star. So we basically revolve our business model around how can we help you succeed so that we can also succeed. It's a win-win model, not a winner takes all or a zero-sum game for us. Secondly, I'd say the reach. I like to kind of think of eBay as the world's biggest main street, but we have a lot more foot traffic than I would say most main streets out there. We've got over 170 million active buyers from all over the world coming to our site looking for that special something, that's something that they need. And for our sellers, for our small businesses, we've got all the tools and all the resources that you need to reach those customers and to ship to them and to engage with them and really broaden your reach and expand your revenue. We're also a really flexible platform, which is something I really appreciate. Whether you're a single mom, a college student, side hustler, or a small business or a massive brand, we've got something for everybody. As my mom would say, we've got a lid for every pot. We will basically meet you where you are and allow you to kind of grow at your own pace and on your own terms. So I think that's a really valuable part of our offering to small businesses. Another important piece is our integrity. I kind of touched on this a little bit before, but we operate a very open, inclusive, fair, transparent platform. We have fair policies, we have seller protections in place. So it's a place where sellers can really feel comfortable. They can vocalize their concerns, we listen, and we do our best to maintain a really kind of human-focused, really fair, transparent marketplace. And then finally, we like to think of our eBay sellers, our small businesses, as our community. That's a word that we use a lot, and it's really kind of central to how we operate our business. So eBay is made up of millions of extremely loyal, extremely passionate, enthusiastic, supportive sellers who help each other, which is a beautiful thing, What I see in a lot of other platforms is that it's very cutthroat. There's a lot of competition, whereas you see our eBay sellers kind of come together, they trade tips, they support each other, which is just a really, really beautiful thing to see, especially in this time. We also operate a lot of outreach and engagement programs, so we don't just kind of sit back and let people come to us. We actively go out into communities, trying to figure out how can we respond to need, where are we needed most, and we create programs and opportunities that directly speak to those. And then finally, we have a fantastic government relations unit, which does some really, really important advocacy work related to issues that are impacting our small businesses, such as postal reform, global trade policy, internet sales tax, all those things that are really kind of impacting our small businesses today. And we actually bring our small business sellers into that process and get them up onto Capitol Hill and get them onto their state capitals so that they can have direct access to our leaders at all the different levels and make sure that their voices are being heard. So in a not so small nutshell.
Thank you so much. That's really comprehensive and fantastic. And so I'm aware, because I actually came across you connected to one of the programs that eBay runs for small business. And I know you were recently telling me about the Up and Running program. And so I'd really love it if you could tell us how the Up and Running program can help small businesses, especially right now.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that question. So as I mentioned, we have from the beginning stood up all sorts of outreach programs to make sure that we are listening to the needs of our community members around the world and responding in whatever way we can. But of course, when the pandemic hit, we understood that we had a really specific, unique, and powerful role to play in responding and making sure that businesses got the opportunity that they needed to stay up and running. So we launched this program in early April. We've seen a tremendous response. I think we're nearing about 30,000 businesses enrolled so far, but there's lots of room for lots more. So I hope more of you will join us. And in a quick nutshell, what this program offers is a number of benefits. First of all, the sellers that come in through this program, the small business sellers who come into the program, they get a free 3-month basic store subscription. I won't go too much into the details there. You don't need a store subscription to sell on eBay, but it offers all sorts of kind of benefits and perks and discounts and all sorts of good stuff. So you get that for free for 3 months. And then at that point, you can decide whether that works for you or not. You can continue, you can cancel, you can upgrade, downgrade, whatever you wish. This is a big one. There's no selling fees during the promotional period. Currently, that's scheduled to end June 30th. So if you're interested, I would encourage you to sign up right away. It's free. And basically, this is free money. Anything that you sell, we don't charge you any selling fees on that. So that money goes directly into your pocket and hopefully out through your payroll and your rent and all those important expenses. Third, this is something I'm really excited about. We are actually launching a brand new kind of digital learning platform in July. And our up and running sellers will have first and exclusive access to that. It's a fantastic new program we're offering. It offers kind of these curated learning paths, so you can kind of choose your own adventure, if you will. Identify kind of where you are in your kind of eBay learning journey, and we will have a curated kind of curriculum path for you to follow from there. Fourth, we're offering direct access to some of our top sellers. As I mentioned before, we have a very, very engaged, supportive seller community, and we've identified a few of them who are just ultra committed to the strength and the health of the seller community. So they have volunteered as seller mentors. So we have an online community where up and running sellers can join. They can ask questions, they can trade tips, they can commiserate, they can do whatever they need to do online to get the support that they need. And they get that direct access, that direct support from these sellers who know eBay inside and out. And then finally, we are constantly looking for stories. We want to know who you are, how is our platform impacting you, where have we fallen short, what else can we do? And we're looking to kind of amplify those stories across our channels, putting our PR muscle behind this and driving awareness to your business and to kind of eBay support of small business overall. So quick note, finally, that the promotion currently scheduled to end June 30th. Of course, eBay carries on as a small business champion. It always has and it always will. But if you want to take advantage of these specific benefits, please log on to ebay.com/up-and-running and join us today.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Alexis. That's really, really interesting. And I just want to say that we are delighted to have eBay here. I think that the coronavirus crisis has shown us all how important it is to have a fantastically strong online presence, have a social media marketing strategy so you can communicate with your customers, and ideally have an e-commerce string to your bow as well. And using the eBay platform is really agile. You can get on and do it for free if you want to, or as you want to make more use of the platform, you can increase your activity with them. They also have that learning support, which I believe is free, so you can go in and learn how to be an expert, and then ultimately make the most of the platform. And so I want to thank Alexis again for joining us, and I want to say also that information about Up and Running and support from eBay will be given at the end on the last slide, and all of you attending today will have access to those slides, so don't worry about remembering how to get in touch or remembering all those names. They'll be made available to you. So this brings me to the panelist questions for our other two panelists. And before I start those, I'll just mention that our live Q&A feed is now open. You can begin to type your questions, but like I said, do have a look in the featured feed to see if there are questions there that actually are similar to yours. If there are, like them, because we're going to focus on those questions with the most likes. So thank you for that. So I'm going to move along now, and I am going to address the next question to Cara Di Mattina Ryan from Workforce Solutions in the rural capital area. So Cara is an expert in business resiliency, which I think is a really important topic right now, since we've all been impacted personally by the crisis, but also businesses have been particularly injured by it, many of them significantly. And at a time like this, resiliency is critical. Resiliency to the staff and the leaders of the business, but also the business itself. And so, Cara, as I just mentioned, the crisis has been really hard on small business owners. How should they adapt their strategy to become more resilient?
Yeah, so first I want to thank you and your team and Adriana. You guys have been great in recognizing how much workforce is tied into economic development. Adriana has a history with Workforce Solutions Rural Capital Area as being a part of our board and incorporating it into her strategy prior to the COVID crisis. And it's because when economic development brings these innovative ideas and solutions to the table, and also adds this economic stability through high quality career opportunities that we want to enhance. So getting back to resiliency, these circumstances are truly unique in terms of what we're facing and how businesses can respond. But underlying what this looks like for our businesses is recession protection and recession proofing strategies. And a lot of that, I'm going to let Joe Harper really touch on, because he's truly the expert on a lot of those topics. But what we can do is look at how to provide resources. And as you talk to Joe, identifying where our issues are as a community and as a group, so that we can provide webinars, we can provide classes along with our Skills for Small Business grants and other such grants. But getting away a little bit from that, because Joe truly is the expert in that aspect of strategies, I'm going to talk a little bit about the current situation that we're in, and that's recognizing, and it's reiterating and recognizing a lot of what Governor Abbott has already said and what Commissioner Demerson has added. It's recognizing that our customer base and the concerns of our employees and our customers are truly linked to health. And we do need to be cognizant of that and understand that communication, high frequency communication, is one of the key ways that we're going to continue to build trust with both of these bases. So continuing and figuring out ways to do that, and while conveying how important that is of a priority to this community. And realistically, going virtual is one of the key strategies for doing that. So it also, as an added benefit, can geographically expand your talent pool, because if traffic and geography are not quite as much of an issue, you can expand your team you can expand your talent pool and team to incorporate new individuals. So with that in mind, oh, well, I guess I started already answering some of the business resiliency resources. Sorry, Kelly. And with that in mind, so we do have grants and programs that we have started through our resources at the Workforce Board. And one of the resources that we've created is the Entrepreneurship Webinar Series. And that is for any small business looking to look at their business strategies again, look at how they want to pivot at this time. And then one of the other big resources that we've been pointing our small businesses to is the Skills for Small Business program. And we've been promoting that opportunity alongside different community college courses that we've been able to partner with our community colleges to develop. Some of that has been Digital Next, which we've partnered with ACC to develop, which is about how to enhance digital technology into your business model. In other circumstances, we've also added Consultative Selling. And both of these can be used in partnership with that Skills for Small Business grant so that they can potentially be free if you qualify under there. And we want to continue to develop these. And part of the way that we're able to do that is by increased communication with our business owners. And I always want, I know my email address, I use my personal email address for this opportunity. And I'm also, and you may not get to talk to me directly if I have to forward it on to the rest of my team, but this really is an opportunity for you to reach out to us directly and tell us exactly what you need so that we can respond directly to that need. And you'll be working with my business solutions manager, Carl, and my business solutions consultants that represent each community individually so that we are using the resources that come out of the Texas Workforce Commission and adapting them to our specific communities. I think that's all that I have under that for now.
Great, Cara. Thank you. Thank you so much. I believe you did give us 2 for the price of 1, which is fantastic. You covered both questions. And I guess I just want to reiterate the fact that the Workforce Solutions boards are a fantastic resource for employers to help with strategy, to help with management of their employees and training and so on. And they are free. It's really worthwhile building a bridge with your local Workforce Solutions office. And so with that in mind, we're moving along to our last question for our panel before we start our live Q&A. And I'm going to address this question to Joe Harper. Joe he leads the Sbdc here in North Austin for Texas State. And Joe has a long career as a very successful entrepreneur as well. Joe has played a pivotal role on the coalface during this crisis. And so I'd like to ask Joe to tell us a little more about the Sbdcs and how they are now expanding to help businesses deal with recovery and resiliency and move ahead. And so I know they're in the middle of expanding, and it's a great story. So I'm going to hand it over to Joe now to just talk about what they're doing and what their service offering is going to be in addition to what they already do. So over to you, Joe.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank all of the panelists. This is actually an honor to be a participant in this process, and I thank all the attendees that are here to gather certain information and see how that might help them their businesses going forward. I'd like to start by sort of the lay of the land. The Sbdc program is designed to provide technical assistance through mentoring, education, and collaboration to small businesses, everything from the micro business to the middle market business. And we currently cover every county, every community, every main street in the state of Texas. In fact, that can be said for the entire United States, but our focus today is on Texas. And one of the things I want to help you understand is that it is at no cost to you. The services are at no cost to you. And some of the training can have some cost, but that will be mitigated as I talk about what this expansion is going to look like. But there are 4 networks in Texas. Texas is so large that we have to manage the Sbdc program through 4 different networks. And so I am a member of the Southwest Texas Border Network, but there's also the Northwest Texas Border region out of Lubbock. There's the North Texas region out of Dallas, and there's the Texas Gulf Coast region out of Houston. And between those 4, within those 4 regions are 44 field centers, like the Texas State University's Sbdc program. And so that allows us to really expand our services and our offerings to make sure that we're covering all of the different communities, but also the little cultural nuances within those communities so that we make sure that we're meeting the needs of those communities and businesses in those communities a little more specifically. One of the things that's happened is in the CARES Act was some additional funding that was provided to the Sbdcs to begin to focus on the challenges with regard to COVID-19 impact on small businesses. And as we began to look at what that might look like, every region has a different use or design for how those funds will be utilized. But in our network, we have stood up, and our network is 10 field centers that cover 79 counties. We've stood up a program called the Sbdc COVID Business Recovery Accelerator. That's a long name, but basically what it means is that we want to specifically focus on those businesses who have been impacted by COVID-19 and what that does, how we might be able to provide some assistance for that. Some of that's been talked about a little bit in some of our presentation already, but we're there so that we can answer questions, provide guidance, and deliver certain training that we have identified, at least from feedback from our clients, that are going to be important to help them position their businesses going forward. Now, we mobilized our assistance kind of in 5 phases, if you will, beyond the traditional services of what we've done. We're now trying to focus on, through these 5 phases, focus on the chronologically what's going on in the business community and how we might be able to meet those needs. First up is securing working capital. And of course, from day one, when we've talked about the CARES Act and we've looked at EIDL, we've been focused on the application process for EIDL, for PPP, for debt relief, how that plays a role, tax relief, how that might play a role, and then looking at CDFIs and community funding programs, all to focus on how do we keep cash in the hands of the businesses to keep them operational. Now, we've had some success with that. We've had some failures with that. It's all part of just the natural course of things. But in this first phase, it was about making application, getting as much capital to those businesses as we possibly can from a cash flow standpoint. And then learning or trying to work with them in maximizing cash flow, how they might be able to access the money that's trapped in their business and that sort of thing. So that was phase 1, and that's been going along and still going along, but we began then to take a look at phase 2. The second phase then was to leverage this downtime to reposition the businesses. So we wanted to work with businesses to say, okay, while you cannot open and operate, let's talk about developing strategies to deploy the cash that you're anticipating or the cash that you may have received. Let's talk about reevaluating market conditions, because as Governor Abbott alluded to, the market conditions have changed. They may or may not come back to what we are accustomed to, but at least for the near term, we have to take a look and say, what's going on in your market and how is that going to affect your business prior to reopening? It's about repositioning that. And then right-sizing your business, taking a look at, okay, if the market doesn't come back, what do you anticipate the market looking like? And then how do you right-size your business, where you take a review of your inventories and what's needed, what's not needed, you know, where is your supply chain? How has that been impacted? Because what we know about COVID-19 is it impacted everything from the supply chain to the customer. And now we have to rethink our business. What is that business going to look like for us? And we're looking at things like inventories. And obviously we have to look at things like employees. What's the talent pool that we have? What's the talent pool that we need? How are we going to utilize these people in a proper way? All of these questions need to be addressed. And of course, also in terms of how can we remain supportive of our employees and then developing that actual reopening strategy. And so, you know, if you would call it a checklist, this is sort of the checklist that we go through with many of our clients and any businesses who are responding to it, who reach out to us, and then we will quickly respond and have these conversations. Phase 3 of that is to focus on compliance, and a lot of that's going on right now. And part of that compliance was proper use of funds. Did you use the money the way that you said you were going to? Did you use the money in an effective way that's going to move your business forward? So we began to evaluate those things and work with businesses to help them in that regard. The other thing is the safety for customers and employees. You know, in compliance, safety has become the #1 issue for us, as it should be. But it does change things because it impacts businesses and how they operate, particularly brick and mortar, who now have to retrofit their facilities to provide safety to both employees and potential customers. So we're walking through those strategies as it relates to that. The other thing is loan forgiveness and tracking and reporting for that loan forgiveness. And right now, it has begun. I guess probably last week was the the first part of that process. And it will go forward where we're trying to, one, understand the guidance related to loan forgiveness. And that has been somewhat of a moving target, but we're honing in on it. And then do you have the proper documentation? Are you filling out the proper forms? Are you going through the proper processes, that sort of thing? And so we want to kind of stand alongside you and help you with that. And then making sure you're in compliance with the governor's reopening guidelines. So the COVID recovery accelerator is here to guide you through each one of these phases, but begin that checkoff, if you will. Where are you in that process? The fourth phase then is where we begin to look at the short-term stabilization activities. What do you need to stabilize your business in the short term? Because that's the immediate needs. And we look at how have you pivoted? What are your revenue models look like? What's the market validation look like? Can we help you actually validate markets that will give you a clearer picture of what your revenue is going to look like? Customer-focused communications. And when we heard a little bit about e-commerce and the value of communicating in a different medium, as we're doing right now, is learning how to adapt these new technologies to the process of operating your business. What out there can you adapt, and how can you integrate technology and innovation to advance your business and to sustain your business, not just short term, but also over time. And so the last focus then was, what does long-term sustainability look like? What kind of strategy do you have for long-term? And so we're going to be taking a hard look at other things with our clients. Right now, we are addressing things like debt restructuring. How does your current debt allow you to sustain yourself as a business? And is there potential debt restructuring we need to look at? We're also looking at permanent working capital and coming to terms with, if we look at the businesses that closed early, their challenge was they didn't have enough cash reserves, which is that permanent working capital need that businesses should identify and begin to build. So we're working with that. We're also addressing strategic adjustments to the ongoing market conditions. So even in an initial market evaluation where we're doing, or an initial market validation, realize that ongoing, this is going to be a shift, and that we're going to need to be paying attention to that daily, monthly, quarterly, because that it is an evolving process, but we want to make sure that your business is positioned well enough to sustain itself over time. So with that, we have paid a lot of attention to finance. And because finance seems to be one of the key issues, obviously, that all businesses are struggling with, we have been discussing with Steve Lefevre, who's the CEO of Profit Mastery, to actually do a 6-module presentation on how to position your business. And the thing that we recognize about this training is that it's in layman terms. So you don't have to have a financial background at all to come to terms with your financial position of your business. And so that's upcoming. As I mentioned, all of the centers, the Sbdc networks within the state of Texas have additional funding. It is a one-time funding for us to invest in trying to help those businesses impacted by COVID-19 to recover. Everything that we do with those funds, again, is no cost to you. So all of the activity for this period of time that we are funded under the COVID guidelines will be at no cost to the businesses who choose to participate. Let me encourage you to reach out to us. We have several professional business advisors throughout the state of Texas that can be very resourceful in helping you reposition your business or reopen your business and move forward. So that's sort of the the big picture, Kelly. Tell me what else I might need to address.
Well, thank you, Joe. That was really comprehensive, and I expect our live Q&A feed now, which we will be moving along to in a moment, will further pressurize you to answer further questions, but I'd rather the audience say than myself. So thank you. And I'd like to thank our three panelists right now for the initial questions that they've answered. The big objective that we have here today and in general on our team is to raise awareness of the resources that are available to small businesses, especially state resources, of which there are many here in this state, federal resources also, which have been very important during the crisis. And then also I did want to, we all agreed, wanted to raise the awareness of the importance of online and continually trying to up your game online, however that is for you. And we will come back to that topic again in future webinars. So now I am going to hand over to my colleague Jarvis Brewer, who is going to handle the live questions, and he will field them to each of our panelists as he sees fit. And panelists, if you feel the question isn't for you, by all means, pass it on to somebody else. And other panelists, if you want to chime in at the end of someone else's answer, please do. Our goal is to just provide rich information and make the most of you guys and your experience here. So over to you, Jarvis.
Thank you, Kelly, for that. And thank you again, once again, to our panelists that are here. I'm looking at the time. We were actually starting this live Q&A a little bit later than we had anticipated, but with that, we may go over our time just to ensure we can answer an adequate number of these questions that have been submitted. I have also noticed that Alexis has gone through the liberty of answering some questions live via chat, so thank you so much for that. But with that, we'll hop right into the live questions. And this first question is along the CARES Act program and the PPP. So I believe we're going to hop right back to Joe with this question. And the question is, can we include contract labor for 1099 recipients in our payroll covered by PPP? So Joe, if you wouldn't mind answering that question.
Right. Now, they have specifically excluded the 1099s in the PPP process because 1099s can also apply for their own PPP funds. And so they're trying to prevent that double dipping. So no, those 1099s would not be eligible as I understand it at this time. So.
Okay, perfect. This also is another CARES Act program, the EIDL. We applied for the EIDL loan, but was denied. As we talked to several small businesses, we learned that there was a number of us that had been denied. Who can we communicate with to either reapply or submit an appeal?
Well, obviously there's an advocate with the SBA district office that you can communicate with to begin your appeal process. Some of the early denials that happened early on, when the portal failed and they reopened the new portal, it allowed you to go back through and reapply. Now, my understanding is that that portal has not been reopened at this time, but begin the process by contacting the SBA's district office and that representative for the EIDL program, and they'll be able to give you some more direct guidance.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Harper. And I think we may have lost your video feed, but we'll move right along with, there's a question specifically for eBay. And this is a question you addressed. I just want you, Alexis, to address this during the presentation for everyone. So I'll ask the question again. How does eBay determine the order of or which sellers show up in a product search?
Yeah, that's a very specific question, and folks who aren't on eBay might be like, huh, what's that all about? So I'm trying to think of ways to make this relevant to a lot of folks, but one thing I mentioned in my response and that I want to kind of iterate here is that we are a massive marketplace, obviously, and so of course that may invite bad apples here and there. And so one thing that we do with our search results is that we monitor our sellers' performance ratings. eBay was one of the very first pioneers not just of e-commerce, but of this kind of like social rating system that we now see in Lyft and Uber and Airbnb and everything else. We kind of invented that. And so there are buyers rate sellers, sellers rate buyers. And so it's a community kind of built on trust. So the higher you're rated, the more, the higher you're likely going to appear in the search rankings, because we don't want bad apples to potentially get up to the top and not deliver the kind of quality customer service that our buyers have come to expect.
Thank you, Alexis, for that clarification. This next question can go a number of different routes for our panelists. I'm going to originally relay it to you, Joe, but I think there could be additional information from even our office that can answer this. The question is, besides the EIDL or PPP, are there only programs that provide assistance for small businesses that are having cash flow issues due to COVID?
Okay, I'm not sure that I quite understand that question as it was presented, but let me try to take a shot at it. There are other programs out there that are, again, focused on the cash flow issues. We are seeing some of the banks begin to have interest in looking at other types of loans, but not caught up under the COVID or the CARES Act. But there are some traditional 7A and some 504 deals that we're beginning to see move forward as the banks become more comfortable with information regarding what the new market might look like and that sort of thing. We're having to engage more in some of the kind of feasibility-like activities to be able to give some comfort to some of the lenders as we move forward with sort of the traditional projects, as we would call it that. But all of the COVID activity, at least to date. Now, there's some things that are moving through Congress, and I won't speak on what those are because those haven't been finalized. But to date, most of this has been focused just on cash flow issues. So,
thank you, sir. And this next question, I see that we have Tommy Simmons here on behalf of Commissioner Demerson. I'm going to relay this question to the Texas Workforce Commission and Tommy. The question is, what happens when you offer an employee that was furloughed his or her job back with same hours, pay and duties, and they claim they are not comfortable coming back due to husband being high risk in age? Are we required to hire them back when they decide they are ready or their unemployment runs out?
Yes, that's a very common question, very important question to answer. Any kind of work refusal like that can be investigated as such by the Texas Workforce Commission, and there are a couple of different ways that employers can report those. But specifically with regard to pandemic-related circumstances, why somebody might refuse to come back to an available job, that may be one type of reason that would save that particular claimant from disqualification. But the burden would be on them to show that they had some kind of reasonable basis related to pandemic concerns for not coming back. Now, if they are reported and the TWC investigates, a determination will be issued. The determination will be appealable by either party, the employer who reports it or the claimant who is involved. But and eventually an appeal like that might make its way all the way up to the 3-member commission, one of whom is Commissioner Demerson. Now, various reasons might exist for not going back to work. They all boil down to the question of, would a reasonable person who's otherwise interested in being employed use that as a reason for not going back to an available job? If the answer is yes, they'll probably not be disqualified for refusing an offer of work. But if a reasonable person would take the job, but they still refuse to go back, then they might be disqualified. One thing that is very certain, though, a desire to remain on unemployment compensation, especially in view of the extra $600 per week under the federal pandemic unemployment compensation program, that is not good cause to refuse to return to work.
Thank you, Tommy. This next question, actually, it may be something for you as well, Tommy. It comes from David. What is a good number to use for unemployment payment problems with the TWC?
Oh, fantastic question. As you may have heard, there have been a number of unemployment claims filed in Texas. And in fact, we've taken over 3 million claims by now, and we get a huge volume of calls. And it's just an unprecedented situation, totally uncharted waters, so to speak. On many days, we are getting in the area of 1.5 million to 2 million calls per day. And that's, if you do the math on that, that's about 20 to 30 calls every second of the day. So a lot of calls don't go through. Probably the most difficult number to use is the 800-939-6631 number that is on the website and on all the claim portals and documentation. There are some alternative numbers that employers can use if they have a great deal of trouble getting through to respond to a claim or to answer questions or to find out. One good number to call would be Commissioner Demerson's toll-free number, 800-832-9394. And we can listen to your question, listen to your situation, and depending upon the exact thing that you're trying to find out about, we can suggest some other number that might be available within the agency that might not be so widely publicized and might give you a better chance of getting through, or we might have a way of reaching a department and asking them to contact you directly as a small business owner. But I would say start with that number, Commissioner Demerson's toll-free number, 800-832-9394. And we can handle it from there and decide if any other office might need to get involved.
Thank you so much for that, Tommy. I think that's a vital piece of information to streamline the call to the right person or persons. So thank you so much for that. This next question, I'm going to go back to Joe for. It's a very straightforward question. The question is there still PPP money available for us to apply for?
Okay, I had to find my mute button. I'm sorry. I can't answer that as of today. Last week was the last time that I had looked at that, and there was still money available, and it is taking on some different forms. But that application still is done directly through your lending institution that is qualified to work with SBA products, 7A particularly. So I would say it doesn't hurt to go ahead and make application and try this. But we are at we're kind of moving towards the end of the first round of that funding. So there are some who are going through the forgiveness process. But in my conversations last week, there were still some money available. But I can't answer definitively if that's the case today.
Okay, thank you so much there, Joe. It's kind of a moving, fluid situation. Mm-hmm. This next question, I believe I should focus this on either Kara or Tommy. Let me know which one of you would like to answer it. The question comes from Jen. Moving from home back into the office is creating a daycare issue for the majority of my employees with young children. I am in a rural location and there are very few options. Has this been a discussion point regarding this?
Kara, I'll let you talk first, and then I might have something to add after you.
Sure. So you'll probably want to contact your local workforce board to look at some potential solutions, especially because you're in a rural area. They're going to be far more aware of how you can get access and who's still available in terms of openings. I'm not sure which rural area you're in. If you're in ours, please email me and I'll get you in touch with the right person to find an opening. We do know that we are helping our childcare providers on an individual basis to open and make sure that that we have that availability. We recognize that as a very, very important aspect of people going back to work.
That's right. And the only thing that I might add to that is that at TWC, at the state office, we have a division that's devoted to child care issues and providers. And under the leadership of Reagan Miller, one of the things that they do is they maintain a master statewide directory of all available child care providers. And they are glad to share those resources with any business who needs help for one of their employees who is telling them that they're having trouble coming back to work because of a child care availability problem. So by all means, contact your local Workforce Solutions office. They have direct access to our child care division, or you can call our TWC, of course. You can use the toll-free number for employers, which is 800-832-9394. And if you need to get a hold of the child care staff, we can help route that call to the proper office.
Thank you, Kara and Tommy. This next question is actually designed for the Sbdc and Joe Harper, but I'm going to ask that Alexis also answer it after Joe. The question is, does the Sbdc offer any type of training or assistance with improving your business's online presence? So I would like for Joe to answer this, but I'd like to also Alexis to give her input on that as well.
Yeah, we are in the process of rolling out those programs to help you with e-commerce and how to create a digital footprint for your business, be more effective in the digital environment, that sort of thing. So we have several. There's a newsletter that went out yesterday, I believe, that addressed some of those, and we're working with our partners as well. So it's not just the Sbdc, but we're working with the City of Austin and the Austin entrepreneurial ecosystem to deliver some trainings there. There's going to be quite a bit of activity in the next weeks and months to come regarding that. So yes.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that question with me. So yes, absolutely. We certainly offer a lot of training opportunities within the Up and Running program, but you don't have to come in through that channel in order to access a whole wealth of eBay training resources. YouTube is full of them. Certainly, we have something called eBay Seller Center, which is a massive library full of really, really important resources. But I can't stress how much I encourage people to join through Up and Running. You'll get access to not only a curated kind of video series that walks you through step by step all the different processes you need to go through in order to get online and start selling on eBay. I know it can be kind of overwhelming at first if you're not online at all, or if you're new to our platform. So we kind of break it down to the most basic level, walk you through, hold your hand, show you it's actually not that scary. So I encourage everyone to go to ebay.com/upandrunning, and there you can see some of the videos. We're producing 2 more this month, so they'll be uploaded soon. So you get the videos there, and then once you join the program, as I mentioned earlier, in July, you'll have access to that e-learning platform as well.
Let me follow up there too, Jarvis, is that, social media is becoming such an important piece of what businesses need to do to communicate going forward. And so there are trainings that really cover the gamut of social media and how to use that social media to the benefit of the business. So a lot of that you should be seeing materialize in the next week or so. And certainly if you'll visit the Sbdc websites around the state, you'll find those trainings already being promoted and how to go about accessing those programs. So.
Thanks again, Joe and Alexis, for that. Unfortunately, we've actually gone 12 minutes beyond our time. I just wanted to ensure we had enough time to get adequate number of the live questions in. Obviously, we didn't get to address every question, but coming up in a slide or two, we will provide contact information for each of our panelists or their organizations, so that if you do have specific questions, you can reach out to our office or our panelists' offices to follow up. With that concludes our live question and answer, and I'm going to turn back over to Kelly.
Great. Well, thank you, Jarvis, and thank you again to our 3 panelists. And I'd like to stress to our audience, if you did ask a question and it wasn't answered, I am about to share a slide with everybody's contact information and other resource information. You don't have to take it down right now because you will have access to the slides once the event is over. And do reach out directly if you want to address a question with any one of us. And so I will show you that slide right now. I know it's quite dense, and like I said, you don't have to rush to take anything down because this slide is available to you very shortly when the event is over. I guess I'd like to conclude now. I will mention it to Adriana Cruz if she would like to join in and say a few final words. We'll see.
Yes, of course, Kelly. Kelly and Jarvis, members of our small business team, thank you so much for organizing this event. Thank you to all of our panelists for participating, and to Governor Abbott for joining us this morning. And a really big thank you to all of you, all of the business owners, the small business owners and entrepreneurs in Texas. As the governor said, you're the beating heart of our economy, and I want to thank you for everything you're doing for our economy. We're here to help you, so please don't hesitate to reach out if there's anything that we can do to assist.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Adriana, and thank you to all our panelists. Thank you to the small business team and Mayor York for all of your help today in delivering this event. And thank you most of all to Governor Abbott for joining us and opening our event and answering some questions. So I would like to say that the event is over now. Thank you all so much for making time to join us, and do look out for our future events. We're going to have webinars every couple of weeks for the rest of the year. In fact, we've had such a positive response. So have a great day, and thank you again.